probably still absolutely my most important influences. But as far as, recognizable artists, I guess, I started doing street photography because I was the only one that had wanted to take photographs with the family 110 Instamatic camera. And when I got my first job, way long time ago, I started walking around in Manhattan, and I love walking around. And since one day, I don't know when, I started taking the little Instamatic with me and taking some little snapshots. And I kept doing that. I was about 76, and I didn't really start doing it regularly until about 78. I guess that was about my beginning as a street photographer. I happened to be in St. Louis at the time, and I grabbed the camera that I had, which was, I remember, was a Canon G3, little rangefinder camera, and started walking around St. Louis, which at that time was a very dangerous, the part of St. Louis that I was living in was very dangerous, and you typically see like a dead body in the middle of the street and, things like that. So, I just got used to walking around and doing stuff like that. And, I started in color negatives. Then somebody told me color slides were more professional, so I moved to color slides, and I regretted that. I ended up destroying about 99% of my early work, and then I stopped for a while, and then I started photographing in black and white. And I guess my earliest influences were probably when I first started looking at Edward Hopper, who I still love more than probably any photographer to this day. And as far as street photography, it's probably Cortege, who I imitated heavily until I guess I was not as enamored of his work, even though I still love it. And he had a lot of other photographers too, but mostly I say Edward Hopper, and first ones are my parents.
Excellent, thank you, Arlene.
The first photographs, I think, once I became aware of what I was doing, in the beginning I just went and made photographs. I really didn't study photography until later. And even when I only went to Fashion Institute, I didn't have an art background or a big, like now there's such a emphasis on going to a big university and studying photojournalism, documentary. I mean, there's so like streamlined and slick, these students coming out and doing great work. But I mean, then it was really different. It was like it was really like a gut reaction and an intuitive response to what you saw outside. And sometimes I'd like put my camera away, and you still see the pictures when you're walking around, and that's really where it comes from in me. And I think later on, after I started to discover what photography was about, I remember one of my first influences was Versailles. I still think he's one of the greatest photographers ever. And then you saw other people like Helen Levitt, and I love Richard Avedon, Irving Penn. Let's see, I was thinking, of course, Diane Arbus, and many others, Bruce Davidson, many of the people that I started to recognize and I guess identify with because of what my own interests were, So that's kind of it.
That's excellent. Marilyn, how about
you? It was, as I said before, it was my husband who encouraged me with photography, and I was a teacher in the public school system, and I had a sabbatical, and I decided to take photography. And I went to Hunter, and the only photography classes they had were darkroom classes with black and white. And I mean, as soon as I started using black and white, I just started seeing things differently and seeing more things. The first picture I ever printed was a little knot in a rope that was casting a long shadow, and the person, I took a little workshop before I went to Hunter, and he showed me what happened if I printed it on very contrasty paper. And you know, you could see all the textures in the wall and everything. Thank you. But I was very lucky to study with Roger Carello in my first year of photography during that sabbatical, and he really encouraged me